like to invite my panel members onto stage. Robert Fordry, Executive Vice President, Cargo, Menzies Aviation. Robert, great to have you.
Thanks, Reggie.
I'm not attempting to pronounce the second name of Matthias. I'll just get Matthias on stage. Matthias is Chief Technology Officer of Google Group, somebody completely outside the air cargo industry, and we are going to bring perspective from somebody from outside air cargo industry. Matthias, great to have you. Zvi Schreiber, founder and CEO of Freightos. Great to have you, Zvi. Adnan. Yeah, I'm also not attempting to pronounce his second name. Adnan is the Senior Vice President, Cargo Business Development and Organization, Turkish Airlines. Adnan, great to have you. And last but not least, Suraj Nair. He is the founder and Chief Technology Officer of Speed Cargo Technologies. Okay, that's the panel that we have. Something that we heard in the keynote is there are two words. One is digitization and digitalization. I'll get a quick round of opening comments from each one of you. Do you make a distinction between what is digitization and digitalization? Robert, let me have your opinion first.
Good morning, everybody. So do we make a differentiation? Not really at this stage, Reggie. We're still looking at ways that we can introduce lots of different technologies into our business, and there's lots of different terminologies that we use for those different technologies. So at this stage, we're not really differentiating at all in that sense.
I'll come to Matthias maybe later.
When I talk, I do make a distinction because I like to be pedantic. So for me, digitization is when you scan a document. It's turning a document into ones and zeros. Digitalization is a process of making the processes in a business more digital. So I use it like that, but I don't think anybody else cares.
Adnan?
I agree with Zvi. I believe that these two are different stages of digitalization. So digitalization is simply changing from documentation to computer, in simple words. But digitalization is a wider world, including some additional technological advancements, but requiring the first step to digitize things.
Suraj?
Yeah, more or less agree with all the panel members. But I see it when you talk about digitization, these are your low-hanging fruits while you prepare for your overhaul in terms of completely changing the way you work so that you stay relevant and also re-engineer the jobs you have currently, because that is also what's going to change.
Matthias?
Well, digitalization, usually as it's understood now, is making paperwork redundant, having the direct break-free transformation of information through the value stream or the process chain. And that's the low-hanging fruit, really. And then the next step is exploiting these data that you have in digital form to improve your processes and to make things possible that were not possible before.
I normally make that distinction between digitization and digitalization. I think digitalization is more of the transformation. I don't know how many of you really go to a bank. It's all done on your mobile devices. And the kind of customer delight that you have through the process of digitalization is something that I attribute to the digital transformation of the industry. Zvi, you want to add a comment?
Well, if we're being pedantic, maybe your follow-up question is whether you write digitalization with an S or a Z or a Z, right? Maybe.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, let's get into the topic of the future of freight, which is digital. I think that's something that all of us agree on the fact that we are going to be, the freight industry is going to be digital. I think there is no question mark on that. Let me again start with the cargo handling company that you are responsible for, Menzies. How much of your time is invested and the resources invested in the digitalization of your processes to make it cost efficient as well as operational efficiencies?
Difficult to put a number on it, Reggie, but significant is what I would say. So a few years ago, we started on changing the sort of digital approach and the innovation approach that we had from a cargo handling perspective. So much so that we recruited a vice president of cargo technology, a position that didn't exist 2 or 3 years ago. And as a result, we had an innovation workshop in London. We invited a number of technology companies to come to London to present to us, because we felt as though, as a cargo handler, we actually don't know what technologies are out there. We know in our minds what we think might be possible, but actually we wanted technology companies to come to us to demonstrate what is possible. So as a result of that, we're now changing our warehouse management system globally. We have robotic technology that is in place and is being rolled out to a number of other locations, doing predominantly inventory checks. We're working very closely with Speed Cargo on some proof of concepts, and we would like to be able to roll out their technology in a number of other locations as well. The digitization process of document handling we've already implemented in London amongst other locations. So our intent is to continue that journey. And I've often sat on these panel discussions and talked about the fact that I'm now 51. I can't talk about being a younger generation any longer. But it's essential. I think Ashwin was talking about the younger tech people coming to join the industry, and without investing in technology, without investing in innovation, without doing the digitization, we're not going to attract the people that need to come to this business. So for a cargo handler, it's essential for us to invest in what we're investing in terms of the technology approach, because it makes us a better handler, it makes us more productive, it makes us more sticky with our customers. But in equal measures, it makes us more attractive as an employer, because it's very important that we find the new generation to come and work with us.
Thanks, Robert. Let me get Adnan. From an airline's perspective, just about 10 days back, we were in Istanbul, and I had the privilege of visiting their new cargo facilities called the Smartest. It's a smart way of actually branding the cargo terminal. Adnan, give us an overview of the pace of digitalization in the last 3 years. I think we moved into the new facility I think about 2 years back. Take us through some of the key initiatives in the digitalization process in Turkish Cargo.
Thank you very much, Reggie. So we love to talk about Smartest, and we were very happy, very glad to welcome so many people to Smartest 2 weeks ago at World Cargo Symposium. But it is more important to understand the story behind. You asked the 2-3 years story, but I will go a little bit 1 or 2 steps behind. I can say that everybody, every company, every organization, every industry has requires their own different ways of digitalization and automation. Our story was, I believe, a little bit interesting. So we went through a growth story of around 1 to 1.5 decades, experiencing 3 different periods, which are completely different to each other. In the first period, in the beginning, I can say, of the growth story, we were a small, kind of a regional airline at around 30 positions in the industry, without having advanced infrastructures, advanced organizations, etc., but had a vision and started to improve in all the different areas in a very short period of time. The story at those times were completely different than the 2 consecutive periods. In the first period, we were focusing on the fundamentals first. We had to we needed a foundation, the basic infrastructure requirements in facility, in processes, in organization, and also in the information systems. And these require an integration. You have to improve all of these in an aligned way. So you cannot just improve one of these, don't focus the others, then it will not work, certainly. In the very beginning, in the first period, as I identified, it can be the foundation period, let's say. We have first invested in the facilities in a more smooth, lean, and somehow manual way. And at the same time, we have changed our information systems to create the basement for future growth, to be a leverage for the future growth, but not the best in the industry at those times, because it was impossible. So you have to go step by step. Another thing was the organization. If you don't have the people, the necessary people, the talented people in your organization, who also have the same mindset, the growth mindset, and who is aligned with your strategic targets, it will not work. And also the processes need significant focus in the story. You have to change your processes together with the changes you have done in the infrastructure and the information systems. The change in the information system was a complete transformation for us at that level. And after the first phase, we were ready with the foundations. The business continues. We were growing 25% a year, every year. Then in the second phase started. Before coming to Smartest, we had 4 to 5 years time where we will not have that, how to say, that facility, that state-of-the-art facility, but still a huge growth in the industry. And this phase was the improvement phase. We catched up with the standards in the industry and improved our muscles to be able to be in the top of the competition in the next stage. And now we are there. Smart is not the only part, so it is that there is a combination of different improvements, developments, or in better words, I call them transformation. But they are all aligned. It provides automation where necessary and where required, and also provides a gate for the future development. Not having everything in the best way for the next 20 years. There is no such world. So you have to create an environment which will be flexible enough and dynamic enough to catch up with the future changes and requirements.
Yeah, Turkish Cargo has really rapidly grown up in terms of the ranking, in terms of the global cargo airline. Zui, you stepped into global shipping and air freight industry in early 2010, 2011. That's when you started Freightos, and it's been 10 years. We have multiple conversations with you on the pace of digitalization and how far removed air cargo is from the other peer industry when it comes to digitalization. Are you still ingesting Excel sheet in your system and converting them from a document to into a digital document?
We still do some of that, yes. But pleased to say that finally the air cargo industry has gone through a fantastic transformation of digital booking in the last 5 years. It took long enough to get started. I mean, my goodness, why they waited till 2018, I do not know. But in 2018, our platform WebCargo started electronic booking first with Lufthansa. So Ashwin, Lufthansa were real leaders in the digital e-booking. In 2018, that was the first airline which had an API where we could book, get a rate instantly, book instantly. Later Turkish and other airlines joined. And now WebCargo has gone in 5 years from 0 electronic bookings to 1 million electronic bookings. We'll do order of magnitude 1 million electronic bookings this year. Now still there's a long way to go. That's still a small proportion of the whole industry. But my goodness, in 5 years, the industry has gone through a fantastic transformation. And we're very excited that they've chosen, WebCargo as the platform they're using. By the way, any of you if you're an IATA freight forwarder, you can try it on your phone. There's a WebCargo app where you can book. You can sit at a conference and book air cargo instantly with airlines like Turkish and Lufthansa and many others.
Yeah, great. Matthias, you've been listening to all of us here. What is your outsider perspective when you look at, I think you've been spending last evening around here. What's the sense that you get in terms of how capable are we as an industry in terms of digital transformation?
What strikes me, that's one of the fairs where there are no machines that are making noise and stuff that is moving around, and lights are going on and off. So it's about information, really, the air cargo business. And what is new now, what is ready now, that technologies like that developed by Speed Cargo provide the information, the predictability in handling the cargo business in a similar fashion than we have, for example, in the automotive industry, where you have a material and value flow which is very predictable, which in advance what is happening, and new technologies, artificial intelligence, provide the means to provide that information that we need for automatization and digitalization.
Suraj, your system is going to connect a cargo handler, airline, automation companies. You have your software. It's basically you are streamlining and aligning with the hardware and software, bringing in a solution that really enhances the customer experience, also looks at in terms of revenue management, cost efficiencies. Tell us in terms of from a proof of concept to a project implementation, what is the stage of automation process, automation product from Speed Cargo?
So I'll just give a rough intro of what we have been doing over the last few years. So we are outsiders. We are not from the cargo industry. We come from the robotics and AI background, actually from Munich. So Munich is second home for us. It has been we started our journey in Singapore with a very precisely defined problem on automating build-up and breakdown of cargo of air cargo using robots. So that's how we entered the air cargo scene as complete outsiders. We did develop something which worked, but we were very quick to realize that it's very difficult to automate this industry. If they first have to digitize, optimize, and then some of them can go ahead and automate. And the reason, because it's a very important industry, but it is not structured in terms of the cargo. The cargo doesn't complain. So it comes in every size, every shape. So in robotics, what we call this is as a high mix, high volume, high payload problem, right? So you can talk to Matthias, he will tell you about these fantastic 100% or 80% robotic automation systems running in automotive, in press automation. Your cars are produced completely automatic, and that's because the industry has made it a congenial environment for the robots to operate. So it's a very predicted, standardized environment. That's not possible in air cargo. Of course, you see all these robots going around warehouses across the world, but that's only a part of the story. That's where the cargo package is designed for the robot, not the other way around. You can't do this in air cargo because that's where all your high value stuff goes. You can't standardize the packaging. So you need to make these machines more intelligent in terms of handling exceptions, because you have more exceptions than normal cases, and that's what we've been working in Speed Cargo to develop software where proven robotic processes in other domains can be applied to air cargo. And I completely agree with what Ashwin said. It's all about the software. It's the computer vision, the AI, it's about the motion planning of the robots, it's all about the software. I studied in Munich for 10 years. I was here, and my mentor in Munich always said that in the next 20 years, software is going to be everything, and everything is going to be software. It's not 100% going to be like that, but it's really, that's where the importance of making systems intelligent lie. And that's what we are trying to work together with our partners, Google. 8 out of 10 cars on the streets are pressed by their robots across the world. But they still work in a very standard environment. And together with Google, what we try to bring to the table in air cargo is automate your brownfield environments using intelligent software for robotics. So that's
Thanks. I'm going to ask one more round of questions to my panel members here. Then I will come around. If you have any questions, be ready. We have a very specific question that you can ask anyone on the stage. Robert, we also had multiple conversation on standardization, and you have a word called mensification that you talked about. How do we bring that standardization? To what extent the digital projects, digital initiatives help you to do that standardization process?
Yes, you're right. So that's one of our mantras as well. We've turned it into mensification. We used to talk about Starbuckification, but that was too much, and that's a coffee chain. So it's now mensification. I think with hindsight on the journey that we've been on technology and innovation, the reality of having exactly the same operation in every location we have around the world is going to be an impossible task. So we have 75 locations. One of them is Fiji, where we only do documentation handling, and we do about 10 airway bills a week. The other is Amsterdam, where we do about 500,000 tons of cargo a year. So are we going to need the same mensification in Fiji versus Amsterdam? Absolutely not. Does it make sense to invest in robotic technology in Fiji? Absolutely not. But the basis of what we do will be the same, and then depending on the size of the location where we're operating, we'll be introducing innovation and technology that supports that. We've classified our stations into ABC stations, A being the biggest, B being the middle size, and then C being the smaller locations. And we've defined the technology and innovation that will be required to run each of those locations separately. So not everywhere all the same. Standard operating system will be the same, but the technology and innovation that makes us more productive will be increased at each location as the volumes increase. That's our philosophy currently.
Zoe, how do we attract young talent, fresh talent into the industry? And that seems to be, I think, the average here on the stage is probably in the 50s. Maybe Adnan must be the youngest on the stage, or is that Suraj? I don't know. How do we attract talent, and is digitalization, the digitalization process that we do in the air cargo industry, is that a step in the right direction to attract more people? You run a technology company. I'm sure that you have a lot of young people in your company, but how do we attract more young people into air freight industry?
Well, first of all, we like mature talent and young talent. We don't discriminate. They're all very welcome at Freightos and WebCargo. It's a very strange situation at the moment in the air cargo industry. The industry has one leg in the digital world with a very good number of electronic bookings, but still one leg in the old world, and all the pricing, 80% of the pricing is static. So I just want to talk about that for a second, because I think if you're an airline, dynamic pricing is the number one thing you need to look at. So if you think about our platform, WebCargo, we send the airlines 35,000 queries every day. So 35,000 opportunities to sell space on their airplane. And that's all in real time. We don't cache any data. We ask them every single time. Every time a freight forwarder searches, we ask all of the airlines, do you want to offer capacity to this freight forwarder? And in 80% of the cases, the airline is sending us back a static rate. So it's digital, it's real time, but behind it is an Excel sheet where some human put a fixed number. So it's a very exciting time to enter the industry and complete the transformation. You know, now we've got the real-time connections. Now the airlines need to take advantage of that, and we need talent which will help the airlines to take advantage of that and start to price in a more dynamic way and take advantage of the real-time connections.
How real is the real-time connections?
30 seconds. When you search on WebCargo, you see results from about 40 airlines in 30 seconds. That's pretty real-time.
Okay. Adnan, I want to frame my question to you in terms of, again, going back to the infrastructure, and I think somebody did mention about the digital twin. I think all of us have a twins, and in the digital space, we have our identities in different social media platforms. As we speak, probably somebody must be tweeting, somebody must be doing a post on Instagram. In terms of infrastructure, digital infrastructure, you have a physical infrastructure. How do you align that, create the digital infrastructure to really improve your cargo handling process at airports, at your terminal?
Thank you. Maybe I will be the 1 billionth person to say that the air cargo world is changing too fast. We have always experienced a change, and it will be much more quicker in the future, obviously. So the industry has waited at some specific points, as you also said, to make some changes, some significant changes. But now it's there. So there will be also a big change in so many things. It is not only about robotics, it's not only about automation kind of things. It is mainly about data. Any change you experience requires a change in everywhere in the processes. And in a globally competing company like us, you have to be aware of the changes from all around the world, from different fields. The infrastructure is changing, the information system technology is changing, people, the generation is changing. Even for myself, the new generation is young. So you have to be aware of these changes, and you cannot just make the physical changes based on this. So you have to make your preparations before you make a change, because it affects everywhere, and not from only a quality perspective and operations perspective. For our business, it affects the safety of people. We are transferring people in the aircrafts, and anything you change requires have a huge effect in so many different things. So we have a digital twin. We make the changes through that digital twin, but it should also be integrated in the further steps with all other areas, not only in the operations side or safety security kind of things. It should be integrated with the capacity planning, resource planning, operations planning at the same time. Otherwise, you make things, change things. People are not ready for these changes. You see a resistance. You see some problems which is not previously discussed, or no escape plans from that, and it becomes a problem. It becomes a crisis sometimes. So to avoid this, we have a digital twin, but it will be enhanced in the future with some additional features, also to integrate all of these different areas.
Suraj, how do you seamlessly integrate different players through your speed cargo technologies, CargoEye, CargoMind? When it comes to system integration, you have your software, and the hardware comes from Google, and then you're working with maybe Menzies, one of the cargo terminals at stations. You worked with multiple airlines. How do you optimize the capacity and plug those into cargo handling in terms of palletization, all that. How do you bring in that seamless integration through your software?
Well, on the technical level, it's not rocket science. You have state-of-the-art interfaces, APIs, which do that, and that is never the problem. Like Adnan said, it's to make sure all the stakeholders are on the table and have the right mindset and work at the right speed. Right? Even a small API integration today can take you around 4 weeks, in the best case. The actual implementation time is probably 6 hours. Getting things integrated from a technology point of view is not a problem at all. Getting everybody on the table to agree to a data model, or even when the data model is already there, to agree them to use the data model is always the challenge for us in terms of. Therefore, we are taking small steps. I mean, I did not answer one of your questions in previous questions in terms of the stages of our POC. So we have been trying to push automation very, very cautiously because we think that the industry is slowly getting ready. So we are now evangelizing, because a lot of things have happened in other areas like automotive and everything. But Industry 4 is not yet in air freight. Probably the most advanced machine in an air freight facility is still an ASRS system, which is decades old in terms of technology, state-of-the-art technology. It is expensive, it takes a lot of space, and it is slow. While automotive industries, you will see the latest technology, gantry robots, much efficient, much sustainable, and much cheaper. Yeah. Knowledge transfer requires to be done in the industry before you can actually bring the stakeholders, because they need to understand what they are buying. Currently, that understanding is not there, and then everything becomes a risk. So we are going through that stage, but in the last 6 months, we have seen a massive ramp up of people who are only talking before and interested, now giving us concrete signs of bringing in automation into their ecosystem, maybe with small pilot projects. For example, we do an express line like you have in supermarkets. You have a little bit of stuff, you have all the standard stuff, you can use an express line to prove the concept, and then you can scale it. So we've seen multiple big and small players trying to discuss with us in terms of bringing this into their warehouses. We hope to have something running, something you can touch, in terms of next generation robotic automation, probably in the next 12 months. But there are a lot of big and small players, some including some very large integrators who are interested in getting into serious robotic automation into their warehouses soon.
Can I just add a point to that as well? I think it's very relevant what you said about there's no issue in relation to the technology, it's getting the people on the table. And that's exactly the same experience that we've had in the technology companies that we've engaged with. Their software, their capability, their desire to work with us is not questioned whatsoever. The challenge is our people embracing that new technology, and we've got this age-old issue of them being fearful for their jobs, and robots will take over my work. A lot of the things that we're doing complements what our people do. And we've got, let's be fair, we've got an aging workforce. We want to bring in a new generation. We can't do what we do without people, but the technology supports it. The technology helps people. It doesn't replace them. It helps people. And that's the message that we've been working with our teams to get across. We're not looking to replace you. We're looking to make your life simpler and easier, and that's what the technology does. But it is a difficult sell in many locations to get that message across clearly.
Yeah, I've heard the word mindset a couple of times. I'll get Matthias to reflect on is the mindset really the problem? Before that, if there is any questions, please be ready. I'll come back to the audience to take a couple of questions. Matthias, is mindset a problem for us here in the air freight industry?
I wouldn't call it mindset, but you have to learn to exploit the technology. That's I wouldn't even would call it you need the right mindset. You have to be prepared to learn to deal with the technology. That's the point here. You were asking how do you integrate seamlessly, and the answer is you don't. the technology base is quite sound due to the internet that has been grown over the 20 years. There's a good set of common standard that makes it on the basic level quite simple to integrate, but of course then to agree on the process and data models, these are the stumbling blocks. So, and of course you can boil it down to mindset, but I think it's a learning process that organizations have to learn to think in digital connectivity in terms of providing the right information. And humans are very good at dealing with vague information. You have a certain idea and that's enough. But if you want to have it fully automatic, it has to be precise. In the end, it has to be precise. Artificial intelligence is an attempt to create a little bit, to close that gap between man and machine a little. And I think we have a promising technology in pipeline here, but it's hard work, or it requires new thinking.
Is there any question from the audience?
Good morning. Happy to see that there is a lot of younger face in logistics sitting here compared to the other sessions where we see a lot of older face, which shows an interest to get into the technology. My question is to the founder of Freightos. This is again on the mindset. Okay. Now we see that in the logistics procurement there is a lot of resistance, mainly because of one, we have a huge generation in logistics field who are very old and they are scared of technology to some extent, number one. Number two, of course there is a lot of transparency issues involved in the logistics procurement. My question is how you are approaching this to get faster conversion.
What's your name?
My name is Matthew. I'm the founder and CEO of Logisci. We are also a freight procurement platform.
Thanks, Matthew. Look, I've been amazed at how well the industry has transformed itself. I mean, congratulations to everyone here. Like I said, in 5 years, we've gone from 0 electronic bookings to 1 million on web cargo. So every single day we have new freight forwarders who place bookings. Every day there are new freight forwarders and they never leave. 98% of them will still be booking a year later. And it's old people and it's young people. So people say that this industry has the wrong mindset, that it's conservative, but that's not fair. This industry has actually adopted electronic bookings amazingly well. But now they need to take advantage of it. I was just thinking about a metaphor. If you've got the APIs, but you're not using it to do dynamic pricing, it's like having bottles of water but no glass. You can't take advantage of it, right? So.
Yeah. Hi, Will Waters from Cargo Airports and Airline Services Magazine. Just wanted to follow up, Zvi, with that comment there about moving to real-time bookings there, or real-time pricing, in terms of moving from static to real-time. You're saying the technology there is there to manage real-time, but 85% of airlines are not delivering the data. So what needs to happen in order for that to change? What is the investment required by the airline? Is it about money? Is it about people? Is it about just the sort of priority? Or there's obviously a lot of potential savings there for them, isn't there, in terms of resources and manpower and sales, but what is holding them back? And who is closest to moving forward with it?
It's just a question of prioritization. Funnily enough, I won't say specific names because I don't know if I have permission, but some of the very first airlines who connected with us for an API in 2018 to 2019 are some of the same airlines who now do give us dynamic rates. And we see that every day they have a different rate and it changes every hour, just like they do in passenger. And I assume that some of the other airlines who took them a bit longer to do an API, this will be the next thing. But the important thing is the data is there. We publish every day the Freightos Air Index, so we publish every day what is the average price in the market on any trade lane. So the data is there to do revenue management and optimize the price on a daily basis, on an hourly basis. I think the airlines just need to get around to that as their next transformation.
I like to ask each of my panel members to do their closing remarks. Some time back, I think the new Maersk CEO was asked at one of the technology exhibitions, will you be called a technology company maybe 5 years from now? Will we all be called a technology companies? No more air freight or airlines. We all should be a technology company. Your closing comments, Suraj.
I agree with Zvi. There has been a lot of progress in the last 5 years, especially in the booking stage. We also see a lot of talk, walking the talk happening in the optimization space, in terms of capacity optimization, in terms of process optimization. But we have always believe that the most neglected part of air freight handling is the warehouse, and that's where actually the magic happens. So when one of the problems is also that a lot of times technology is pushed to the ground handlers, right? And it is bound to get pushed back, right? So our challenge is how to systematically introduce technology in pieces at the right time, at the right place. And today, when I talk about robots, for my robots, the biggest competition is the forklift and the forklift driver. And you should try to go to a hub in Singapore, for example, at between 9 and 3 a.m. in the night, and you should see how they operate like F1 car drivers, right? So we can talk about robotics, we can talk about everything, but the processes on the ground are quite archaic, but it's really magic. It's like magic happening every day when cargo still flies in a very unstructured. So we need to appreciate that in terms of how difficult ground handling is, and also appreciate that it's very difficult to automate that. And then we need to pick parts of which can be automated to prove that automation could work. And that is the approach we are taking. And that short-term vision is to prove that in terms of an end-to-end material handling pilot, where we are demonstrating our concept in our booth just behind this forum. And we will be happy to work with anybody who wants to be the first mover and then enjoy the first mover advantage of owning this technology piece. Yeah.
Adnan.
So I will express the importance of flexibility again as the final words. So whatever we do, we are always focusing on the future by improving our muscles to create an organization which will reflect to the changes and not only be a follower, be the pioneer of the changes in the industry. No one here knows how the industry and how the world look like in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years times. So we will see a different world. There will be some things which are not invented right now and which are not even considered right now, like the example given by Ashwin for ChatGPT. So there will be so many different things, and we need an organization and infrastructure to be flexible enough to adapt to that. As I said, for the SmartEd, it's the best facility, I believe, in the world, one of the best, or let's say, but it is not the best facility of 5 years, 10 years later times. So we design it to be flexible enough to improve for the future changes. Otherwise, you end up with something which is best for today, but not matching the requirements for tomorrow's world.
Zvi?
Well, just to say again, I think as an industry, we should be very proud of what we've achieved the last 5 years. Everyone who said this industry can't change, this industry is conservative, we've all together proven that's not true. We've still got a long way to go in that digitalization journey, but it's great to see such good progress. Very exciting times.
Matthias?
Well, I think conditions are right to move to the next step, to move on to physical automation rather than just information automation.
Robert, last word to you.
I was thinking when you asked that question, it's a big question for us to all summarize on, Reggie, so we could be here a long time, but to try and shorten it, will we be a technology company in 5 years? No, we won't be. And I think touching on your point as well about the cargo that we're given to handle, you try asking a robot to lift up a rolled up carpet to put it on a unit, it's very challenging. And then in warehouses that we have, we'll have cattle being processed, we'll have dangerous goods, we'll have any number of different requirements. So we will continue to embrace in technologies that help support. And I think here's the big finish. We would like to be the most technologically advanced aviation services company, but investing in technology that supports our people, that doesn't replace them, it supports our people.
I think that's a perfect note to end. Magic needs to happen. I think technology will help us to create that magic in different parts of the air cargo logistic value chain. With that note, I'd like to thank my panel members. That's been a great opportunity for me to interact with you and have this conversation, have this panel discussion. A big round of applause to all my panel members.